Hello, diesel fans, and welcome to episode 11 of the official Diesel Power Podcast. We want to thank all of you for your support at events, your calls, emails, and social media messages. We are grateful to have all of you in our corner. Make sure and subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, and please rate the show. This podcast has taken the diesel industry by storm, and we want to show iTunes how strong our community really is. Our guest today is Derek Rose of DNR Customs. Derek not only owns one of the best diesel shops in Michigan, he also knows a thing or two about drag racing. Sit back and enjoy our conversation with Derek about starting a diesel shop, offering top-notch customer service, his drag truck, and preparing for the Ultimate Call-Out Challenge. So I definitely want to thank you for being on the Diesel Power Podcast, Derek. It's a pleasure to have you, and we're looking forward to chatting with you about trucks and running a business in the diesel industry.
Sounds good.
Tell us a little bit about how you got started in the diesel industry, when you first got into trucks.
Well, believe it or not, in 2005, I started buying exhaust kits from Summit Racing and would make a few bucks on labor just for some random people. I mean, no business plan, anything really. I would just see someone with a diesel and go up to them and start talking to them about making their truck sound a little better. In 2006, I filed for my LLC, and pretty much not till 2009 or 2010, it was just a hobby, selling stuff, installing for friends and little stuff on the side. And I had me and my stepdad had a concrete business, so that was pretty much my primarily, source of income. And, with doing that, we were always working in the construction field, and, people would have diesels, and, at that time it was still really new, and we would just, I would just go up to somebody, even at a gas station, just start talking to them and, about it. And I was always kind of, just like an entrepreneur, just going after stuff, trying to make a few extra bucks. And like I said, that's pretty much how we got started. And once I hurt my back, racing motocross in 2009, I just decided, working my regular job, owning the concrete business with my stepdad, I wanted to pursue the diesel thing a bit more, and I just started creating better contacts for parts and worked on gaining knowledge with, what worked and what didn't. And I just always tried to surround myself with good people and reputable parts suppliers. And obviously you go through setbacks and issues along the way like anything. I just always put my head down and kept pushing.
As far as going from, say, something you're real passionate about and kind of did it on the side to a full-time business, what were some lessons that you can maybe pass along to some other guys and gals out there who may be thinking about the same thing and, either just jumping into it right now or they're thinking about it? What have you learned through it?
Currently, honestly, if you have a good paying day job with normal hours and enjoy spending free time with family and friends, enjoy it. Because owning a diesel shop, like it goes right out the window. Hours, you don't really have hours, and you're always, for every job that you do is almost like a how do you say it? Just it's like your own truck out there. So, some are cut and dry jobs, and some are bigger jobs, and it takes a lot of time. And stay humble and try to control the quality of work that leaves the shop. That's what I've just tried to do. Most important, just control what leaves the shop. You can do 100 perfect jobs, and one crappy one will just come back and haunt you. And then, as the company grows, you as the owner, you can't work on every truck. Therefore, you got to surround yourself with, good help that you can depend on. My motto's always been, I would rather have 2 to 3 weeks worth of backed up jobs sitting out in the parking lot than be more worried about, getting more work, out, not be able to control, the quality that, is leaving the shop.
That's something a lot of the guests on the podcast have brought up, is the quality and attention to detail and how important that is to their business. And we know it's important to you and DNR Customs. How hard is it to stay or to maintain that level of quality when it is really backed up and guys are calling and they want their trucks back or they need them back? How do you manage that? We just kind of, try to explain to them the situation, and, every truck is its own little
task, whether or not it's just a simple exhaust job. But, those are pretty cut and dry. Like with my business, we have, I call it my cut and dry jobs where, they're scheduled, just drop-offs and, pickups at the end of the day. And, for a lot of our installs. And then we have, more of just the repair side of things where, you're always having to, call and get prices, call the customer with how much it's going to cost. With my business, we have two different types of, customers. You have the customer that has, a pocket full of money that wants to do something. And then you have the customer that, doesn't want to spend any money on the vehicle. So it's kind of a dance between the two. We just always just try to be honest. That's the biggest thing is just be honest with the situation, whether or not you run into a problem with their truck or a truck ahead of theirs. And just be honest, and it's worked for me. That's kind of the biggest thing.
That's awesome advice. I know that's one of the biggest kind of juggling acts that are out there when running a shop is sometimes the trucks ahead of that one can delay it, and you have to give that guy the same attention you're going to give to, say, the person that's on the phone or there at the counter. And I think they appreciate that because they know their truck's going to be taken care of the same exact way. So we know that DNR Customs does a lot of cool stuff, some amazing builds. If somebody walks into your shop and they've got, say, a 5.9 or a 6.7, no budget, I just want to go fast, what can you guys do for a customer like that?
Pretty much we can start, from the beginning and just, full-on motor build. I mean, we've worked, over the years creating, like you stated earlier, creating the good contacts with, machine shops and high quality parts. That's been the key to, making it all work is, basically the parts that you can offer or install or, the fabrication that we can do in-house, which is nice. I mean, we have a full fab shop in-house, so it's kind of nice. I mean, whether or not we can roll cage work, traction bars, custom, turbo plumbing, whatever you want. We just try to tailor whatever the customer is looking for, their end goal. I always ask people, what's your end goal? Because so many people make the mistakes of, well, I only want, 600 horsepower right now. So we spend all this money and, the parts to make, to get them there. And then, 2 months later, they're back. Well, I want to do this. Well, they just wasted, I don't say wasted, but we set them up specifically for that. And now we have to change here. So I always try to go after the end goal and, start in the beginning with parts that we're not going to have to replace, because we only wanted, X amount of horsepower to start with.
We've got some questions on our podcast that people wanted to ask you about that specifically, and I think it comes down to air and fuel a lot of times is, setting up a truck, say, that might want to be at 800 horse down the road. They need to kind of have a turbo that fits into that ultimate goal, but they don't necessarily need 800 horse worth of fuel right now versus the opposite, say doing huge injectors, upgraded CP3 or twin CP3s, and a little charger that's just a recipe for popped head gaskets or melted pistons or something like that.
Yeah, it's tough because, with the 6.7 base platform, we have the ability to put, a large, primary turbo on and with literally, with stock fuel versus, the older platform with a 5.9, it's kind of, with the 0.67 0607 platform, we've, had the ability for the past few years to have, great custom tuning. So we could, start out with a lot bigger, injectors and scale it back in the tune and, start with a smaller, 66 or, 67 mil turbo on the manifold and then build up when they want to do the compounds. But, the compounds, as everybody knows, causes their own problem. And a lot of people want to push it with stock lower ends, and it's a big difference on price, what people don't realize, going forward into doing that, that fully built motor and, putting rods in the motor. And that's the big step, especially with 6.7s. I mean, we get them all the time. People want to put, large compounds on, and I say, listen, I've been there 3-4 years ago when, you learning this and everyone's spitting rods out the block. And, I was one of them on a 5.9 5 years ago. I was like 850, 900 horse, just pushing it. And, how do you learn? You set a set of rods right out the side of a block. So we just try to, you try to explain to customers, based on, previous experiences and then just knowing what works and what doesn't and dealing with, other companies, and other guys that are racing out there pushing the envelope on just what works and what doesn't.
What have you found for a reliable setup or, say, a way to protect the head gasket on a higher horsepower, say 6.7? Like just a stock gasket, fire ring, maybe O-rings. What's worked best for you guys at DNR?
The biggest thing is just, is head studs. Like, we the stock turbo just, is such a limiting factor on making any power, and they just emit so much back pressure, internal cylinder pressure, that, the best thing to do is to get rid of the stock turbo. That's one of the biggest things. But I mean, we've done, we use, the cheaper ARP 2000 series head studs. We do a lot of those, for the guys that, want to spend the extra. It's hard to get somebody to want to pay $1,100+ for, 26 shiny head studs. It's tough, but I mean, those really are, if we can go with the 625 line with ARP, those are the best. I mean, I have those on my own personal race truck. Obviously, it's a little bit different setup with fire rings, but a standard MLS gasket with 625s. I mean, guys are making tremendous amount of power, and it's all about turbo sizing also. Getting the right size turbo, not especially in a 6.7, getting that T4 foot and getting a nice primary turbo on there to get the air out and lessen those the cylinder pressures.
Now on the 5.9s, it changes a bit in that like the ARP 2000s can hold say more or do more than they can on the 6.7s, but when does the head gasket or the head itself on a 5.9 start to go from say using a stock Cummins gasket to fire rings or O-rings or something like that?
I found in my own personal experience, it was, we could hold that 80 pounds, and this was on, standard 12 mil, ARP 2000, just, a $475 set of head studs, can hold a lot of power. And then once I got over that, once you get over that 80 pounds of boost, you're really starting to walk the line. And then, there's two different ways of doing it. There's some guys like to, just firing the head. The correct way that we like to do it is, firing the head and the block. Not always feasible, because most of the time, to do it correctly, you have to remove the motor and, have the block done in the machine shop. I know some guys can do it. I know Drew at, D&J is, done. He's got a nice fixture set up where they can do it right in, with the block in the truck. But I found, just if we firing the head with, say we're going to do a large set of compounds on a 5.9, you can hold some pretty good power, upwards, 100 pounds of boost. And in that case, I would lean away from, the ARP 2000s and go, I would stress for the 625 stuff, still retaining a 12 millimeter fastener.
How about the pistons? One of the guys on our podcast had asked, mainly, like about the 03, 04 pistons to 04.5 to 07, and then going to the 6.7s is, what are some of the things you've seen either on your race truck, customer trucks, where people need to think about an aftermarket set of pistons, or maybe the stock ones can be pushed farther than another year range? Yeah,
there's a lot of guys making, I push stock pistons all the way up until, about 1,385 horse, and I didn't have no issues with, stock pistons. There's a lot of guys out there that are making that and, maybe even more on stock pistons. Each one, the 6.7 versus, the early and late 5.9, they all have a little bit different of a bowl design, which, like I run an early bowl, 03, 04 style spray pattern in my race truck, and some other guys may run a late bowl. Not really a big difference, it's kind of to each his own. I know, the guys at Fleece like running the late bowl. Ryan Milliken and myself, Ryan was running the early bowl, having good luck. And when I did my new motor build, I went with that because he was, doing my tuning. So we just decided to go with that. But, the companies like, Diamond Pistons come out with, a beautiful, billet piston. It's got all the Teflon coating on it, hard anodized, and just a beautiful piston. For guys that are really pushing it, that's what we try to, sell and offer. as well, putting that in. That's what I have in my own race truck. But, it's a big expense, and, a $600 set of, stock pistons, or even, even a good aftermarket Molly Cleveland piston is, can hold, decent power.
Yeah, so that, like, say when you see these motor teardowns, or I'm sure you've seen it in the shop where these guys melt the piston, is it because of just too high of EGTs? Too much fuel for the turbo that's on the truck?
A lot of times, not so much, poor tuning can cause a lot of it, along with, a lot of, it's common rail. So we get, a lot of guys get a sticky injector and they don't, or, big misconception is a guy will buy, let's just say 100% over nozzles, and they'll put them on their, their old bodies that, have 100,000+ miles on them without getting, the injectors tested or balanced, or sending them out to a reputable place that could do that. And, you get an injector hang open, and, maybe, you or I might know what to look for, but they don't, and, they just kind of keep in it, and, we see a lot of pistons go bad that way. We see a lot of, in my shop, broken rings on number 5 and 6 on, 5.9s, just from, we see a lot of those, just, in more stock applications. That's, I see that more than melted pistons in my shop anyway.
Is there anything a customer could do to prevent that, say on a stockish kind of application on a 5.9, to prevent those broken rings?
Well, what we've seen is, basically in the intake shelf design on a 5.9 common rail, your number 5 and 6 it will run hotter, because of the fact that the shelf design, is very wide at, say, the intake plenum, and then it narrows up when it doesn't get adequate flow into the back. Personally, there's not a lot that I've seen that, I know, I believe Pusher, there was a company that sold, they sold an actual, like an intake plenum that had a branch off, and you knock off one of the freeze plugs and it would actually dump air into the back of the cylinders. But it's more of a fluke thing. Like I said, there's guys, make, with stock shelves and, making 1,000 horsepower. It's just kind of a, bad luck of the draw. Fleece Performance sells a great coolant bypass kit that we install pretty much on, every 6.7 that we get in here. What that does is, it opens up, has a thermostat in the back of the block, and kind of opens up before your thermostat on the intake, and allows for, adequate coolant flow across the whole, motor. That we have seen, help.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of what you've done with your race truck has trickled down to customers that come in the shop, and experiences and things you can see before they even happen. And we wanted to talk to you about your Dodge with the record in the Super Street class. What has gone into building that truck, like from the beginning to, say, where it's at now, or where it might go here in a few months?
Man, I don't know where to start with that one. This truck's been a project. It started life for me as as a wreck truck my wife and I found. It's been a 4-year build in the making. The idea of a race truck came from my daily driver that was, a little over 800 horsepower, and we were starting to do a few competitions here and there, and I had an injector stick, and luckily we caught it, and it kind of left us stranded. We had the trailer there, we had all kinds of stuff, and it was pretty much that was like the turning point, and we just decided, if we're gonna do this, we need a dedicated truck. You can have an 800 plus horsepower daily driver all day long, but you just risk, when you start competing, with it, you just risk the possibility of things breaking. We're pushing these trucks, way past their intended purpose that they were built for. So then we just, I sourced out it was a wreck salvage title 2006 regular cab truck, that somebody just, insurance company, paid off on it, and it went to auction. We picked it up, and that thing, let me tell you, it was like an onion. The further we peeled back, it got worse and worse. It was from the pitch, because we went there, when I went to look at it, it was, I didn't even know if it ran, and it only had 60,000 miles on it, so I was hoping that the motor was good. The oil pan was smashed, but still had oil. So we get down there, we fire it up, and it ran. I was like, oh, the trip's worth it. I mean, I can make everything else. I can fix everything else. So I believe it or not, I actually took that motor out of the truck, put it in which was my 800 horsepower truck. I put it in there, so I put a 60,000 mile in my personal pickup that we use for towing the trailer around, and just started going at it, and redid everything. The frame was 2 inches out, the axle was broke, transfer case blew off the back of the transmission, you name it, it was just messed up. So went through the process, the body work, everything, and I learned a lot with building that. Is I kind of rushed a few things, and I tell you what, going back at it, I won't say burned a few bridges, but I put pressure on people that I maybe shouldn't have, like body guys, and I mean there was a long story there. I mean because I really wanted to get it done, and we were trying to make TS. That was the big thing. Like I bought this truck in late November, and we're trying to make TS in May. The truck was wrecked, so we had a lot of work to do, and we got it going, and put my motor in there. Went with a little bit larger size turbos from BD, and I knew I was pushing the envelope. Here again on the rods, I knew it, and so we go down there and we get one pass in, and that back then I was running the 1050 index class. We get one pass in, we got rained out. So me and my buddy John, we're in the parking lot, back at, we were going to go head to the sled poles. We're like, let's take the race truck. Looking back, what a bad idea. So we jump on the highway, and anyone who's ever been down to TS knows it's like about a 15-mile journey from where the hotels are down to the sled pole track. No exits, no nothing. So we end up getting on the highway, and there's a Duramax there, and still had full factory interior, everything in the truck, and we roll into it a little bit, and sure, the damn rods just blew right out the side of the block on the highway. Parts everywhere. So, and this was only about 2 miles into our 15-mile stretch down the highway. So we, needless to say, the guys that we were kind of racing decided to tow us all the way 10 miles. It felt like forever, all the way down at 40 miles an hour to the next exit. And, I mean, I'm just, I'm kind of devastated because I just, put everything I had into this thing. And so, long story short, we get it back home and, build another motor. And again, I was trying to get it going for the next race, being a shortcut, and I didn't have time, or I was kind of a little short on money and have the block done the way that I wanted to. I wanted to do the 14 millimeter, like a girdle, everything. I ended up cheaping out and just kind of keeping, factory main bolts and everything. And out of fluke, we put a couple 100 miles on the motor, and I broke a crank, believe it or not, with a brand new motor. I mean, 6.7 motor. I mean, it was sweet. And I ended up breaking a crank. So, and we don't know really what happened, and that just put a real big setback in the whole issue for me. I mean, I poured my heart, soul, all my money into this thing, and trying to run a business, and this was back, in 2013, or 2012. So we were just, we're really growing as a company, and I just said, screw it, I'm putting this thing out, and my wife, I didn't even tell my wife that it was broke. We left it outside. Truck hasn't been outside since it was painted. I left it outside behind the house for 2 weeks. She's like, then one day she's just like, why is the truck sitting out there? And I'm like, so then I had to tell her I blew it up again. So, I mean, from then on, it's just, I paired up, talking with the guys at Fleece, and they were doing really well with Ben Shaddy had the current Super Street record, and they had a really good program what they were doing with their motors, and Ryan Milliken just got one of the motors. They had a couple of their pulling truck, and I decided to I was going to drop the hammer and have them build me a short block, and they did, and it took it was a good chunk of change, but honestly, it was the best money I ever spent, because last season for me was it was great. I mean, I didn't have to worry about that motor, and we were pushing. I think we dynoed we got 1,550 horse at Shides in the fall, and I had a lot left in the tank. So we fighting a little bit of rail pressure issue, and but I mean we came a long way, and I was real happy with last season, and everything just come together. I mean, we got triple turbos on it now, and it's been really fun.
One of the big things with these trucks is sometimes the fans, diesel fans out there will think, well, these shops just put together a truck and it works right, from the get-go, and everything goes smooth. But there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that goes into these trucks and building them and maintaining them. And it's really cool to see them, when they do what yours is doing with the dyno competitions, with the racing, with all these different events, is to know what went into it. And this is what it's achieving now.
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, I want to give a shout out to a couple guys that, a couple companies. I mean, BD Diesel's been, behind me. So they started a race program. I believe this is the third or fourth season, and I was with them from the beginning. I mean, they've been helping with parts, and, I've been doing some R&D for them. They've been great to work with, and, we've been using, their transmissions. We use a lot of their tranny parts and all of our customer builds. We use a lot of their turbos. It's been great. Ryan from Hardway Performance, he does all of our Cummins tuning, and tunes my race truck. And, as, we're competing against each other, and, he's tuning my truck, and it just works. I mean, last year we didn't even change the file. He sent me a base file, and, the first of the year, and we didn't even change it all year. It just worked, because we're kind of fighting a few other little issues with, us guys. We're running a lot larger injectors now, and, we're all trying to search for holding and maintaining rail pressure, because it seems that was kind of the hurdle last season. So I think moving forward, we should be all right there. The guys at Trend and Diamond, I mean, they've been helping me out. We use all their products, on all of our builds, the push rods and pistons and billet bridges, and they got all kinds of new little things coming out. Even in the future, they're working on Police Performance. Those guys have been great to work with. They really helped me on my motor. Chase and Braden, their tech support. We run into issues even, on some of the install parts that we buy from them, or, Chase has been great to work with on my race truck, answering a lot of questions. Because those guys, they've been, they were a little ahead of the time on, they have other racers that, everybody's just trying to push the envelope. There's not some magic, answer button for all these. They're just guys out there trying to, push the envelope and see what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, bringing that truck together, from beginning to last year to what you have coming up this spring with the Ultimate Call-Out Challenge, what's it been like preparing for this event?
Lots of long nights. It's just been a struggle dedicating time to work on it. I mean, during the day, the main focus for me is to keep the shop running smoothly. So that leaves me a few hours each night and the weekends to get the majority handled. I kind of dove in pretty deep and decided to remove my old road cage, which was already certified to an 850, and build a completely new one. And, we moved, I don't know if you've seen, we moved the seat to the center. And, that's been drawing a lot of attention, and why, and, how come you're doing that? And, honestly, I haven't really seen it done, in the drag racing, in like the Super Street or the Pro Street trucks. And I just thought it would be cool, something different, and that's kind of what, how our sport has evolved, just, by guys just being different and innovating. And it just kind of allows me to pretty much custom tailor the whole interior of the truck to, to fit me. Yeah, my resale value is going to suck for if I'm going to sell it to a six foot tall guy, but, at this time, I'm not really worried about it. And it's been really cool. I mean, there's, we see it looking, following the social media thing. There's a lot of guys out there that are preparing for this challenge and, doing a lot of wild setups. And I'm kind of in between. I'm not really doing anything too crazy besides, making the truck just a lot safer and just fit my style and building on what worked in the past. I mean, a racer's biggest mistake or guy's biggest mistakes is taking something that works and then just changing it, tenfold. That's a lot of people make the mistake of that. So I'm trying not to do that. I know I'm making a lot of changes, but I feel for me, we're gonna be all right. Just got a little bit of chassis tuning and, I don't plan on making a whole lot more power. I think from the 1550 we were at, I know it's got more in the tank. So whatever it does, it does. I mean, for the call-out challenge, the guy that wins the dyno, I don't feel is going to win the event. I mean, there's a couple guys going there just to, break hearts on the dyno, and I just want to go there. And even if I'm a third, fourth place guy in every event, I mean, I think that guy's probably going to win the event. Just go there, take what works, and what worked in the past, and just put it all on the line for that challenge.
The consistency.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my last pass of the season at Rudy's last year was my fastest, and that for me, shutting the truck down with no issues was great. I mean, we're gonna do a few little small refresh on the motor, nothing serious. I'm really not even going to. I wanted to pull it down, but we're just running out of time. Probably just gonna pull a couple main caps off, make sure the bearings look good. Put some new rod bolts in. Other than that, we're gonna roll the dice. I'm a little nervous on it, but I mean, the motor worked great. I probably had 50 plus passes on it last year, probably more than double of some of the other guys that I was racing against, because I was double classing. We would do the Pro Street class and the 1050 or the 670 index class, just to get a little bit more track time and have some fun.
Awesome. Now, as far as there's a dyno event that I've heard about all the way here in Colorado that you guys do, dyno and drag racing event. When do you guys host that?
Our event started about 6 years ago. It's just a dyno event, like family, friends, few customers. We had a couple hundred people, and I mean, what it's come to now, I mean, 2,500 plus spectators, and then 60 plus competitors on the dyno selling out in like 20 minutes last year as we sold out. And unfortunately, we had a lot of unhappy people, but I mean, we didn't really expect what was going to happen. And we added drag racing 2 years ago to the event. So this upcoming September will be our third season for drag racing, and our event is held at Milan Dragway in Milan, Michigan, and we're set to hold the event September 10th this year. And then people can follow all the updates and scheduling on Facebook. The easiest way is to search DNR Customs Outlaw Diesel event. And also our event was just featured in Diesel World magazine March issue. So if you subscribe to that or newsstands, they did a great 6 or 7 page full write-up on it. It turned out really good last year. And also this year, we're trying to add sled pulling as like the evening event. It's looking really good. Milan's on board with with doing it, and I think we have a pretty big there's a lot of sled pull guys up in our area, so they're all pushing for it. We just got to make hopefully all the cards fall into play.
It'd be awesome. We'll definitely be checking it out, and we'll make sure to put a link to your Facebook and to the event on our Facebook page so people can find it and follow it and see it. And I know you guys put a bunch of cool stuff on the DNR Customs Facebook page, like with build pictures and truck pictures and new things. And so we definitely want to encourage people to go check you guys out, like the page, follow it, as you guys are working on some really awesome stuff there.
Cool, I appreciate it. Yeah, my personal Facebook is kind of where we post the most. We try and do the business Facebook page, but I mean, as you're probably aware of, the whole Facebook kind of depicts what gets seen and how much it gets seen based on how much money you want to spend. So that's been tough, and I even know for a lot of my buddies that have businesses, it's the same thing. It's like it's been a real struggle. A lot of us use our own personal Facebook because it kind of draws more attention. But we got a lot of info on our website, and we try to put pictures on there. And sometimes, I'll be honest, I could use another guy in the shop for just taking pictures and doing publicity stuff. We've been lacking a little bit. I'm trying to get more stuff out there, and it's just tough. Not enough time in the day.
That seems like a constant. Owning a business and running a shop is just not enough hours in a day.
I get here in the dark and I leave in the dark, and then I'm like, oh man.
Well, we definitely appreciate you sitting down with us, Derek, and talking about your business and your truck and your event and getting prepared for the Ultimate Callout Challenge. And it's an honor for you to be on here to chat with you. We love telling your story, and all the diesel fans out there will be able to listen to what you're working on, where you've been, and where you're going.
Oh, hey, no, I really appreciate you guys having me on. I'm just a little guy in the business, but we've been working hard, and the race truck's been a great success for us, and we just plan on just sticking with what's been working and keep pushing the envelope.
Thank you again, Derek, for letting our listeners get an inside peek into DNR Customs, your truck, and what's in store for the Ultimate Callout Challenge. Diesel Power Podcast listeners, check out DNR Customs on Facebook, dnrcustoms.com, or give them a call at 586-648-6930. Until next time, keep the shiny side up. No, it's really funny. This isn't even related to podcast questions, but we had a podcast up, and I asked people, hey, tag people you want to see in it, and people will comment and everything, and I'm doing like 30 things at once, right? And somebody says, get Derek Rose on the podcast, and immediately I knew of you. I knew what you've done in the industry. I knew your company, but I thought of Derek Rose for the Bulls real quick, and I'm like, man, I'm trying to keep the streak alive. I can't get Derek Rose from the Bulls on the podcast. And I was like, wait, no, Derek Rose from DNR Customs.
I used to have a pretty good Google rating before that guy come around, because I used to race motocross, and I had my pro license when I was 16 years old, and I used to race all over, and that used to be my thing, and that was before the basketball players. You could type in like Derek Rose, and it'd come up with like a bunch of MX pictures, and man, now you type Derek Rose, and I don't even know if I'm on a page anymore. That guy killed my whole feed.